What's wrong with the motor mounts?
Well, a lot. No. The motor mounts were worn out. So what happened is when the car was running, there was a lot of vibration going from the motor through the rest of the car. It literally felt like there was about 1,000 watt subwoofer going off. It was really uncomfortable to drive, honestly. It just ruins the driving experience. Over time, the motor mounts, and there's one on the passenger side, there's one on the driver's side that hold the motor to the actual frame. They collapse, and there's rubber inside them, and it squishes down, and what you get is the vibration from the motor travels through the motor mount, because there's nothing to cushion it anymore, and it goes through the rest of the car. And it vibrates the rearview mirrors, it was vibrating the mirrors off the side of the car. It just was really uncomfortable. It's very common for a car that's almost 40 years old, or a higher mileage car. This just happens. The thing with the motor mounts is it's a big job, and it's not really a ton of stuff you can show on camera. There's a lot of work that has to happen under the car to unbolt the motor mounts. So I'll put my screwdriver down. But what it is it's a sandwich, right? So there's a piece of metal that comes from the motor that sits in the motor mount, and then the motor mount sits in the subframe. And together, that is actually what holds the motor in place. There's two bolts from the top. They're 13 millimeter sockets, or 13 millimeter bolts, and then there's two bolts from the bottom. So they come together like this. You have to unscrew both of those, and then in the bottom of the mount, there's actually a bolt that holds it to the subframe. That's a 17 millimeter. What you have to do is you have to take the two bolts apart, and then the one bolt that comes out of the bottom of the car. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It wasn't crazy hard, but it's just really tight down there. So you have to be able to get extensions and sockets that fit those things. And then once that's done, once those bolts are taken out, you essentially lift the motor up and you drop the subframe down. And then at that point, you're able to have enough room to be able to pull out that motor mount.
Chris, I watched the footage of you taking the motor mounts out, and it looked really hard to me. You keep saying it's not that hard.
It was challenging. Without the lift to actually put the 944 up on top of, this would be an incredibly difficult job. Or actually, if you have like a 2-post lift where you can actually get the car in the air to be able to work underneath it, it's just an uncomfortable process because you're continually bending and trying to reach into these small spaces to get the bolts out and to get the motor mounts out. Additionally, once you do get the motor mount unbolted and the subframe dropped down, I had to take a pry bar and put a pry bar between the two and wrench it open to be able to get that space to get the motor mount out. So then you're also trying to pull down with a pry bar to be able to get that space. It's dirty. It's dirty, it's cramped, it's not pleasant, but it's done. And at this point, we'll show the footage of kind of me taking it apart and putting it back together, showing the unbolting. But now the car is done and now the motor mounts are back in, it's a huge difference. Like, it feels way more comfortable to drive. It's just a lot more comfortable to be in the cabin. All of that vibration from the motor is gone. So it actually feels really nice, and the driving experience is much improved from what it was before.
now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move everything over. So these are all free. So let's go free. And then there are 2 subframe bolts that had to come down. One up here. Look at that, but and then subframe bolt right there, and then subframe bolt back there that has to also come down. And then we've got this here. That subframe bolt has to come down, and that one there, and then here is my bolt that has to come out inside there. And then on this side we have a heat shield, which is this right here. So that's got to come off so we can get the top side bolts off. And then there's the exhaust. There we go. So bolt, front bolt out. That was not easy. Now, all right. So old motor mount on the right, new motor mount on the left. That's a big difference. Is that a 1/4 of an inch probably in height between the two? It shows you how this one got, how pushed down it was and how it did fail. It's pretty rusty. But same exact, just the new ones, a little bit different on the top. Oops, I'll show you there. Yep. And then but the same bottom part, so mounting area is the same. So, I had to end up doing is taking out the actual motor brace on this side to be able to get access to that spot, which is where the motor mount lives on the driver's side. So that's driver's side. That's going to be the easier one. Now, passenger side, again, super tough. So we'll have to see how I can get that guy out of there.
So new motor mount. It's smooth. It's noticeably smoother. The motor before the actual motor, like holding onto the top of the motor, you can feel the vibration going through it. And then if you did this, you can actually feel the vibration going through the car. Whereas now, you can feel it a little bit, but it's just the idling of the car. It's way smoother. You can see the motor actually isn't moving quite a bit as much as it used to either. And then once we go inside too, so as I mentioned before, the rear view mirror was vibrating like crazy. You can see it's actually really nice and stable now. And even just being in here, you can feel the idle of the car. But it's just a huge difference. It's really noticeable on how much more comfortable it is just to be inside the car. Do you want me to start it right? Do you want me to start it to prove, like, to show the value of it? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I don't know. Does it start different?
Yeah. What happened to my screwdriver?
Well, you put it down.
I put it right here. This is obviously not going to be used.
You shouldn't say that.
Oh boy.
You don't know what I am going to use.
Yeah, I don't know what you're going to use.
Who knows?
Let's not hold on.
Chris, how long did it take you to do the motor mounts?
The motor mount start to finish took about 8 hours. And that includes having to go out and run and get wrenches that were metric. So I did not have metric wrenches that were the size that I needed. So running out and doing that. It was also a lot of climbing under the car and then coming back on top. Climbing under the car, coming back on top. Because like to be able to get those bolts and hold the two pieces of the bolts and get them apart, it was a lot of just coordination of like under car on top of car.
How did that physically make you feel?
I was exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted. It's not easy to climb underneath the car and get back up for, 7 hours of work basically to be able to do this. Like I said, it's dirty too. There's a lot of dust and dirt and grime falling on you when you're doing it too. So
there was a lot of debris.
It was a lot of debris. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yep, a lot of debris.
So would it have been good to know that you needed metric tools prior to the project?
Yes, I think that, well, without them, you can't do the car. You can't do the actual job because that 17 millimeter nut that's on the bottom, the only way you can get access, you can't actually get access with a socket because there's no, you have to go around, it's one of the control arms bolts in there. You actually have to go around the side of it to get in. So it has to be a wrench. It has to be an open sided wrench or a ratchet wrench. Even the ratchet wrench, I think you'd have a tough time getting in there. So it is, it has to be done with a 17 millimeter wrench.
Is there any other tools or tips?
Yes, extensions. There were several parts, especially on the passenger side, where you're trying to hold the bolt from the top or screw the bolt in with the new motor mounts, that I was using 2 extensions, if not an extension, and a flex. I forget what the name of the flex connectors are, but there's 2 connectors, you can connect them together because you'd be able to go up enough, but then you'd have to come over as well because the bolts were kind of like down along the motor and then between the exhaust headers and things like that. So you need extensions, and you have to be creative with the extensions too to be able to get access to them.
That's a good tip.
If you don't have an impact, having an impact wrench makes a huge difference too, because a lot of the threads on these motor mounts are really long. So if you don't have the impact to actually drive it on with a socket, you're going to be sitting there manually doing this, and it took a while. There's a couple of them that I could not get the impact to, and it probably took me 20 minutes to be able to get that nut all the way down and cinch down tight on top of the motor mount. So now that the motor mounts are done, huge difference. Really dirty job. It did take 8 hours, but now that they're done, it's nice. It's made a big difference. Along with that, let's cross off a couple things from the list as well. There's a few other things that I've worked on as well. So engine mounts, let's cross those off. I also did the smoke tests and on the vacuum lines, and I will cross that off. I'm going to leave exhaust because we'll do that in a little bit.
Oh, and that video is up for you to enjoy.
Yes. Polishing, I have that video up now as well. There was one other one down here, the rear 5th stoplight, that was just simply burned out. So let's just cross that out. I replaced that bulb. That's good to go. And then I think that's it for the moment here. So a few things we've crossed off the list. A lot more to come. Like and subscribe for more content.